We never quite made it that far, but I think we would probably prefer, I mean, since this is a private community, we wanted to check in with the people who are purchasing the lots and say, you know, get their feedback. I think in answer to the sidewalk question, I just remembered it was that we got together with those who have donated for a lot. They'd rather not have sidewalk. And I think there was some aspect of they did want lighting, but they didn't want to be blasted by lighting because it was a countryside. They don't want lights coming in their windows at night. I guess the answer is it hasn't been defined.
I'm having trouble reading the dash line that you have there going along the triangle to your left. To the left of the outside there, there's a dash line running right up to that. I guess there's two properties, yeah. And your index came.
Yeah, that's actually, I believe it's a perimeter track setback.
Okay, this is a setback line.
Sorry, it's a perimeter track setback. A 75-foot perimeter track setback.
If there was a problem with water, are you aware of the closest location for public water? If that was to be...
It's at the corner of Strasburg and Mount Carmel Road.
There's water there.
Save me time, thanks.
Is there planned lighting at the parking spots for the House of Worship and Recreation area?
Yes.
So there would be lighting there at least.
But no lighting along the proposed road, is that correct?
Yes, there will be lighting along the proposed road up to where the homeowners' road starts.
Could you say that louder, please?
So yes, there will be, the question was where is there lighting along the roads?
Yes.
And at the entry of Mount Carmel Road up to where the houses begin, there will be lighting there. And in the parking lots and around the institutional buildings.
In your planning, would it be possible to make sure that those lights are not, you know, dark, the whole dark sky, not spreading, and
Yeah,
that they're
there'll be
facing down and not into upwards?
Well, there's a design called shade lighting.
Yes,
Where you can control the
downward
area of
projection.
lighting below. We'll definitely have that there.
There's also township ordinances that we have to meet with regard to lighting. We have to provide a lighting plan showing the no glare on adjacent properties and things of that nature.
Am I correct, that's all part of the land development process? You'd have to supply that and have it reviewed by the township engineer?
That's correct.
Well, the township engineer issued a review letter dated October 7th, 2016. Are you prepared to respond to that now, or is that going to be at the next hearing?
Yes, Mr. Crotty, and I was just going to try and follow up that question. We received the review letter from Mr. Della Penna, I think it was Thursday or Friday of last week. And we have looked at it quickly, but we'd like to put a little more time in preparing responses. So we hope at the next hearing, Mr. Givens will be back to offer something in writing in response to Mr. Della Penna's review letter.
Is on-street parking contemplated along the residential portion of Fellowship Drive?
In my opinion, it wouldn't be, just due to probably the fire code. A roadway of this width was typically signed with no parking on either sides, just to ensure fire vehicles can proceed to the site.
that's the case, would that be, well, you might not be the right person to answer that, but would that be enforced by the HOA? I mean, it's a private road, but police and fire trucks would need to
I think
get.
typically in my experience that it would be, I think,
Well,
the,
the-
go ahead, you can speak to it.
Well, the zoning requires no parking on the roads,
Hmm.
and it requires to have on-lot parking. So obviously, you know, I don't know if we could get people to police each other, but we all try to keep cars off the roadway, just for safety.
Can you speak to when the county approvals were given for the water and sewer?
I don't know these.
That
dates
was,
off the top of my head.
2015. I can't tell you the exact date, but it was approximately 2015.
If you're gonna come back and if you could clarify that at the next hearing, I'd appreciate it.
There is areas of trees being taken down for construction of these homes, I heard in the beginning.
Not for the homes,
Not for the homes.
just in the area of the existing developed area where there's existing activity down here with drives. There's just some wooded areas in there that would need to be taken down for the parking lot and house of worship.
Is there any plans to replant possibly anywhere along the perimeter, up against any houses, or?
We actually will have a landscape plan that meets all the code and all the buffering requirements. Parking and street trees, building foundation plantings, they will all be included in land development.
Do you know the number of parking spaces that are currently existing for the institutional or religious use?
I don't know that answer.
It's hard to say, there's probably about, right now, currently, there's probably about, I'd say 40 to 50 spaces. There's a couple parking lots near the garage and there's roads and.
In regards to the cemetery area, how is that handled? Do you, from perspective of the engineering of it, is there something you have to go through the state, through the Commonwealth for increasing, or, I guess I'm asking about the logistics to the wrong person.
Yeah, well, I don't think there is an actual area out there today. I think with this plan, we are designating, this is what the cemetery area will be contained to. I do not know the permitting involved with a burial.
That's controlled by the state, and we do consult with the state, and they're pretty lenient on that. I mean, you just have to bury within a certain distance, 4 feet below ground level.
Is that being handled completely in-house, or? are you-
Yeah, it is handled in-house, but we do have a funeral, what was that? We have a McIlvain funeral parlor which handles all of the certificates of death and the transportation of the bodies and things like that. We actually have a backhoe on site, and I'm in charge of digging those graves, so we go down about 6 feet.
Okay. And in the parking area, there's plans for blacktop or macadam, they're not a two-way modifier or something, it's gonna
It's going to
be?
be a full typical parking lot.
Okay.
The supervisors don't mind, could I interject a question I forgot?
Sure.
Dave, with respect to site distance, did we take a look at site distance requirements along, is that Mount Carmel Road?
That's correct.
Can you please explain what was involved in that, and whether or not we meet required site distance measurements?
Right, it's an existing driveway that we're trying to maintain, and as a vehicle is exiting and looking left, we have no problems with site distance. They can see, far exceed what they would need to see.
When you say no problem, there's a required site distance measurement that the state usually offers, and you're saying we can comply with that?
That's correct. Looking right, there is less sight distance than looking left, but we have, our traffic engineer has done a speed study,
And was that a result of the request by the township traffic engineer?
That's correct. To determine the 85th percentile speed, which is what PennDOT bases their site distance on. There is a desirable site distance that PennDOT wants to see. You can't meet that. You use the speed study to show that, and through certain calculations of roadway grade, the speed, friction factors, and coefficients, that there is a PennDOT's minimum acceptable site distance. With the 33 mile per hour speed study, it equates to roughly 222 feet of site distance that we would need to provide. And I feel confident that we can provide that as a vehicle is looking right as it exits.
Let me just go back for those Board of Supervisors who may not be familiar with how the speed study works. There's a posted speed limit, correct?
That's correct.
And then you go and you study cars actually traveling the road, and you determine what the speed, the speed study will determine a speed of the 85th percentile of that traffic traveling the road.
That's correct.
And that 85th percentile speed we determined through Mr. Carullo, who may offer further testimony on this subject, is 33 miles per hour.
That's my understanding, yes.
And based on that speed limit, that speed of 33 miles per hour is where you came up with the associated site distance requirement of
222 feet.
And with 220 feet as the preferred site distance, are we able to comply with that?
Yes.
And the township, am I correct, the township traffic engineer had reviewed the speed study previously performed on the site?
I don't believe he has, I think, sir, not yet.
Subject to Mr. Gibbons coming back and addressing the points that are raised by the township engineer's review letter and any township traffic engineer review letter, unless it's going to be handled by Mr. Carullo. I have no further questions.
Anybody else on the board have questions at this time?
We're at 8:45 now. It's kind of up to the board whether we turn it over for cross-examination or whether we defer that until the start of the next hearing. Yeah, can we get a show of hands from the people who have requested party status in terms of if you anticipate questions of this witness? It's like 4 or so.
4.5.
I'm on too.
Yeah.
I'll raise my hand.
That's fine.
I'm on, you came to the meeting.
Especially about those presentations, freshen everybody's mind.
Okay, I'll run through the list of names. Dr. Beach, do you have any questions of this witness? Mr. Wylam?
Want to have a microphone or can you hear me okay?
You guys
Can everybody hear me all right?
Yeah.
Talk.
All right. I guess I heard some numbers, and I just want to make sure I understand them. The first one was about 400 gallons for the residential.
It was the proposed sewage flow associated with the individual residences is 400 gallons per day per residence.
And the other number I heard was 800 gallons per day, and that is for
That is what is assumed for the house of worship.
house of worship. And the house of worship, I understand, is 30 thousand square feet or no?
Right now it's 25,000 square feet.
25,000. Somehow that's, a normal home is 3,000 square feet, 25,000 square feet. Do the math,
Right, the calculation is just health department driven,
okay.
and basically it's the number of bathrooms, the number of sinks.
Right.
So you have a very large building with,
All right, maybe my point should be, at 400 gallons for a 3,000 square foot house, and 800 gallons for a 30,000 square foot facility, it seems like they're out of sync. I mean, I don't know how the system is gonna handle enough people, sorry, doing you know what, 30,000 square feet. And for 30,000 square feet, I'm not an engineer, could you compare that to Kmart, a Walmart? How much is, this is probably 600 square feet. I have no concept of 30,000 square feet. It sounds very large, is what I'm saying.
well, just for the record, it's 25,000 square feet.
25, sorry.
And I don't know really what to compare it to. I could give you the dimensions of the building, if that'll answer your question.
Yeah, that might, I
Can you
I
speak to
can
the,
back into it, but,
can you speak to the number of bathrooms and sinks and other things that are proposed, which is how I understand the numbers driven?
It is driven that way, I'm not sure off the top of my head, but
Well,
Chuck may.
you know, it's basically, it's for, whenever there's a service there, like the church once a Sunday,
right,
they use the bathrooms. It's not like every day, 24 hours a day.
Right.
It's only when in use, so, and that number was given to us by the Chester County Board of Health. They reviewed it, and they said, in order to put this system in, just at a certain place, we did testing, and they said test for 800 gallons a minute for the square footage. But it's hardly used, there's only maybe 2 or 3 bathrooms in it.
right. I guess I'm thinking, I'm down by Doe Run Presbyterian Church. There's no way that's 30,000 square feet, so I'm just trying to get a concept.
Well, it's a 200 feet by 125 foot wide building.
All right.
Mr. Emmel, do you have any questions for this witness? Mr. Emmel still here?
No. I just have, when I heard you talking about screening, is that screening going to be limited just to the houses? Is there any possibility that being so close up to it with my property, that I might get some screening after the development gets started? I'm going to be one of the first to be, where Mr. Giddy said they're going to start building, that comes right to me. And they're going to start it around my area and work their way back. So with that in mind, there are some trees that were planted by the fellowship earlier, but many of them didn't grow, and there's wide spaces between, which I'd be looking right at, just turn around and everything right there.
Well, all I can say is that through the land development process, the fellowship will hire a landscape architect who will design a full plan to meet all the township buffer requirements and parking lot requirements, and they will have to fit the number of trees into that space. I know they've got a lot of space to plant trees, so I'm sure they'll all be able to be planted on site.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Montoro?
Referring to the building, the 25,000 square feet, you said that the parking area was based off a 7,000 foot main meeting area?
That's correct.
What's the rest of the building usage for?
It's just what we're allowed under the zoning. So we're not gonna build a 20,000 square foot. We're allowed 25,000 square foot, so we wanted to put that footprint on the plan to show where it would be. I mean, I think that the building that we're gonna build is gonna be maybe 100 by 50 at the most,
Okay.
you know? But it's just, it reserves it for the future,
So you just
because
want
we're
that
allowed,
footprint
so we
documented.
wanted to show where it was gonna be, so people would understand the future footprint, if ever.
Okay. As far as the septic and having to get a variance or to go outside the lot, why didn't you just expand the lot size?
I believe it was a variance.
You said as far as their septic, when you say septic, some of them would be outside of the actual lot area.
easements.
An easement.
Easements.
Why didn't you just expand the lot size?
Well, in certain instances, it wasn't that simple,
Does
because,
it come into contact with any of your setback on the property? Is that why?
No.
Will it require a variance as well?
for example, I'm just gonna use this as an example. Lot 18 may not have perked very well.
Mm-hmm.
So they tested all over here, a lot of testing,
Mm-hmm.
and they determined that this area over here can handle a septic system.
Okay.
So this guy is going to be going to a septic system over here. So it wasn't as simple as just a matter of expanding the lot 10 feet behind.
And does that have any impact upon that lot's well? Is it still within the 100-foot setback from the
Well,
well?
all the wells and septic systems will have their normal separation.
That's all done by the health department. Now, has any impact study been done for the stream that runs down through, which would basically be your upper left-hand corner of your plot plan? There is a stream right through there as well,
Doe Run.
located right here. No, that's, the buck runs down here. This is the stream that comes through here from these houses. Any runoff issues there?
It's on the other side of that road, it's quite a ways away.
Well,
And
I
all the
wouldn't say
lands-
quite a ways, it's
all the
within
lands
100
slope.
feet from the
Guys, one at
property.
a time, okay?
As far as runoff issues, we'll be going through the township engineer for stormwater runoff, which will review all of our designs, and we'll also be going through the Chester County Chester County Conservation District,
Okay.
and PADEP, for their review of our stormwater,
Uh-huh.
and we have to provide to them that we are not increasing flows to any point of interest on the property.
And you haven't done any stormwater management on this yet?
Now, I would say we haven't done any stormwater management, but we have done preliminary studies to make us feel comfortable that we can get to work.
Okay, so they won't be located on each individual lot for retention?
That's
You're
correct.
gonna have a group retention.
There's no,
Now, as far as the overflow of that group retention, where does it go to?
the primary point of interest will be down in the south side.
So will it impact the Buck Run?
It will not negatively impact Buck Run.
Now, in the cemetery, you stated that there was, what, 2.6 acres allotted for that, and you said 5.
I didn't, I just looked at the area, and it looked like 5 to me.
I can
Okay,
tell
so
you that
that's-
my number on the plan was correct.
Okay, your number's
He's the
correct?
engineer.
Okay. Let's see, what I have here. You know what you stated about wells, that you wouldn't get a UNO and everything, and that they wouldn't build if they didn't have a well. Well, from being in the building trades, typically the last thing to be done is the well. So the structure's already built. Would they be willing to drill the wells prior to building the structure in order to
Absolutely.
secure that?
Yeah.
There you go. And the last thing I have, you have a total of 27 acres used between the houses and all the other, the meeting room and the garage and everything else. That's a total of 27 structures and 27 acres. Is there any reason, does that include the roadways on that as well, or no?
It does, I believe the 27 acres I testified to, just bear with me for a second. A lot of numbers.
Yeah, I know.
The 27 acres was the total of the
Of the development.
developed area, so that includes roads, curbs, parking lots.
Okay. So that's all impervious, then?
No, not all impervious,
Not all impervious?
it's developed, meaning
Just
that
all developed.
it will be graded, but it could be lawn, it's just developed area,
Okay,
not impervious.
thank you.
Ms. Carney?